Hi, it's Martin here again. Good evening to everybody. My last video was quite deep in its meaning, so a change of tone in this video. Now, if you hear whistles and bangs going on in the background, I do apologise, but it is the 5th of November, bonfire night. Now, I briefly mentioned in previous videos about focusing your photographic energy to one thing, namely a project. It can be of anything, creating a series of images of your pet cat, the car you love, anything that focuses your mind to one subject. By doing this, it does train the photographic eye to look and become more creative. Another way, again working to a fixed theme, the type of camera plays a big part in that creative process. And the one camera that I think does a great job, that comes from the simplest and the oldest form of photography, is the pinhole camera. They almost every time give you that creative, timeless look and a sense of satisfaction, knowing that it's all about you and the pinhole creating the image. You can learn so much from using one, having to think very carefully about composition, angles, light, movement, exposure, etc. So in this video I've chosen a project, subject to study and create a few images of this place using my 4x5 pinhole camera. You make mistakes using them, you'll see in this video that I did. There's so much to think about, and I think that's a good thing from a learning point of view. But they are fun cameras to use, and when you get it right, the images, as I said before, they're timeless in appearance, sometimes dreamlike, but most of all, with no modern intervention, the images are pure in creation and a challenge to use that inspire creativity more than any other camera that I know. So here's the project and the subject that I chose using my 045 pinhole camera. Right, today it's very windy, but I've come out with my pinhole camera and I'm photographing this old engineering works, Murphy's Engineering Works. This place was built in around 1923 and it closed down I think round in the 1980s, and it's remained pretty much the same as it is today as it was then. So I just want to take a few photographs with my 045 pinhole camera, and the first photograph I'm going to try is from this angle, and I've got the tripod set up very low. I'm going to get some motion blur in the foliage and etc, but I don't mind that. After all, it's a pinhole picture. So I'll get the camera set up and I'll show it set up. I think I'm going to shoot this using two panels on the 045, which gives me round about 50mm, because I don't think I'll get the top of the chimney in, even at this distance, with the 75mm section, which is 3 panels together on the 045. So I'll get the camera set up and take a light meter reading. I'll show you how I'm going to do that and get this first photograph. So I've got the 045 out, and I'm making sure that the pinhole is for the 50mm size, and I've got a little scale in here, numbers here, and it's showing me that number 1 will give me the pinhole for the 50mm setting. You just see there's a little dot there that shows me that's the 50mm setting. Now, to use the 50mm setting, I have to remove one of the panels. So that's for the 50mm setting, and that's just the 2 panels together. Fasten the panels together nice and tight. So I'll rubber bands this. I'll get some more rubber bands and fit the back tightly, the film holder tightly to the back. So that's already set up now. Put the tripod bracket holder. Mount this to the camera, to the tripod now. Just gonna have to go a little bit lower with the tripod. Right, I've got the camera mounted on the tripod. Got it all level, and for these photographs I'm going to use Ilford FP4, but I'm going to rate it at 250 ISO and develop it in diafine. So I'm just going to fit the dark slide on the back of the camera. Right, that's got that fitted nicely in place. Now I need to take a light meter reading, and how I'm going to meter for this is I'm going to look for an area that I just want to retain detail, and I think looking at it, if you can see from this, is round about there in that dark area. I'm going to take a meter reading at f22, and then that will give me that area at zone 5, and I'm going to underexpose it by 2 stops, and that will move that area down to zone 3. Once I've got that exposure reading, then I can calculate the exposure from this chart that I use on my iPhone. So I'll check the reading now with the spot meter and see what I come up with. I just realised that the position I put the camera in front of the railings probably wasn't a really good idea. The 50mm pinholes that wide, I think I would have got the railings in at the bottom and the top. So I've moved the camera over the fence, and I'd have no chance of getting these railings in. Now I've taken an exposure reading in the shadows, and the reading was 1/8 of a second at f22. To place those shadows on zone 3, I've underexposed by 2 stops, which gave me 1/30 of a second. Now looking at this chart, this is for the 50mm pinhole, 1/30 of a second gives me 2 seconds exposure. Now FP4 on the reciprocity timer app says just give it 2 seconds, but I'm just going to give it a little bit more exposure time, so I've gone for 3 seconds. So I'm going to take the exposure now and see how it turns out. Right, I've just taken the exposure, so I'm going to put the dark slide back in, and it's just starting to rain a little bit, so I'm just going to have to make sure that my film and my camera don't get wet. So just hang about a little bit and see if it clears up, and then I'll set up for the next exposure. So for this photograph, I've gone to 3 panels, which is 75mm, and with it being so wide, I'm going to get a lot of foreground in, but if I get any closer, I'm going to lose the top of the chimney, so I might just have to crop in slightly on this one. So I've come purposely further back. Because I'm at the 75mm, I'm going to increase the exposure time to round about 5 seconds, and that should give me some nice blur in the sky. So I'll just check my meter reading and see if that's okay, and then take the photograph. So that's the setup. Camera all leveled up, and that's the angle that we're seeing. Right, I've taken that image, and the exposure time was actually 22 seconds, and I've just realised that I took the first picture wrong. I was metering in spot meter mode, but with the instant light reading set, so the exposure was wrong. So I'm just going to have to go back and do that again. The exposure is going to be longer. I thought it was a little bit quick really, but it just shows you there's so much to think about when doing pinhole photography. You know, setting up your exposure, getting your angles right, metering, and then converting it to the pinhole size. There's so much can go wrong. Anyway, I got that wrong, so I'm going to go back now there and just take that picture again. If you fail the first time, try again. Right, I've got it back set up, and this time, instead of being I think it was 3 seconds I gave it, it's actually 13 seconds, so it would have been well underexposed. So I'm going to take the exposure now, and hopefully that one will be alright. Just going to wait if I can for some cloud to come in the picture. I'll just get that nice cloud movement. You know, looking at this the setup I've got at 50mm, I'm thinking to myself, is it going to be too wide, getting too much foreground in? But the pinhole photography is it's not an exact science. You've just got to sometimes just go with your gut instinct, and I feel that the 50mm setting for this picture will work better than the 75, which has a more of a normal wide angle view. So I was going to change it to 75, but I'm not. I'm going with my gut instinct at 50mm. You can never get it exactly right with pinhole. You can do calculations and everything, but half of the process really is a little bit of guesswork and just using your eye to sort out the angles of what's going to be in and out of the picture, but it's never exact. In my experience, you usually get more in the picture than what you think. So I'm still waiting for some cloud to appear, and then I'll take the exposure. I'm all set up here, and that's the sort of angle of view that I'm going to be getting with the 50mm. I'll not get any distortion. That's one thing about wide angle pinholes. If you don't go too extreme, straight lines should be straight. You should get no distortion whatsoever. We're not dealing with lens correction. So there's a cloud appearing now, just coming into view. So hopefully there'll be a few more. So as I say, this is 13 seconds at the 50mm setting. The pinhole size on this is a f176. Right, we've got some clouds coming in now. So what I do a lot when I'm using large format, especially pinhole photography, when I pull the dark slide out, rather than leave that slot where you push the dark slide in, which is an area where light can get in when it's been sunlight shining in for, you know, it can be minutes with pinhole photography. So what I tend to do is cover it up. I just cover the opening where I pull the dark slide out with my app, but you could use anything really. It just stop light getting in and ruining the picture. Right, we've got some clouds coming now, so I'm going to take the exposure. So that's the exposure taken. Take my hat off, put the dark slide in, black facing out, and we'll look around now for something else to photograph. I might try and photograph the actual chimney itself, looking upwards. So I'll go down to the path there, round about that area, and I'm going to point the pinhole up towards the chimney. Now that is guesswork, so you've just got to work your angles out, but I'll show you how I do that, so I'm going to do that now. So I've got my camera set up, and if you can just see here, this is the sort of angle that I'm going for, pointing upwards. I do need some clouds in this picture. I've changed the panel to 75mm because I don't, so I've got the 3 panels in, that equals 75mm, and the pinhole size is f216. And to work out the angle that you're going to get in, you have to sort of imagine the angle of view. Now, if we take this as being the middle of the where the pinhole would be, and up to round about there at each corner where the film's actually in the back of the camera, if we look and use anything that's straight from the centre to there, I can sort of eyeball that angle and this angle. So looking at this picture, I'll come to the other side, we'll probably see better. If I set this angle just roughly, and then I sort of look upwards, I can see what I'm going to get in. And if I take it that way, at that angle, and I can eyeball it that way, I can see that I'm going to get the bottom of the chimney and round about there. So I think that angle looks about right, but as I say, it is guesswork, and you do get better at it as you keep using pinhole cameras. For this one, I've fitted this is the first time I tried this on the 4x5. This is an accessory you get on the Zero2000 camera. It's for fitting filters to the front. Well, I've taken it off the Zero2000 and I've fitted it on here, and I've fitted it with blue tack and put the orange filter in. I'm hoping that I'm not going to get much vignetting. I don't mind if I get a little bit. I've looked at the angles and really I shouldn't get any vignetting, but we'll just have to say, I have to try it. As I say, I don't mind a little bit of vignetting. So for this, I'm going to take an instant light reading, and I'm going to have to allow for the orange filter factor, which is just, it's about 1.5 to 1 3/4 stops. I'll probably just give a compensation of 1.5 stops to allow for the amount of light that the orange filter's taking out of the picture, so to speak. So I'm going to take a light reading now, as I say, an instant light reading, and then I'll take this picture, and hopefully I've got the angles right. So as I say, I'll take the light reading now and see what we come up with. Right, I'm going to take a light meter reading, and I'm going to take a light meter reading in the partial shade. Now, the way I've set this meter up is when I press the ISO 2 button, I've dialed in 1.6 stops compensation for the orange filter. So all I have to do is take the light reading, which is 1/8 of a second at f22, and then press the ISO 2, and it's giving me 1/2 a second at f22. And then I've just got to calculate the exposure to the f-stop of 216. And looking at my phone, that's giving me 1/2 a second is 48 seconds, and then I've got to calculate the reciprocity failure. So if we go into the reciprocity app, 40 seconds is 1 minute 44, and then I'll scroll down to 8 seconds. That's giving me 13 seconds, and that's near enough 2 minutes exposure. So it's a 2-minute exposure, Ilford FP4, rated at 250 ISO. And as I don't know if I said before, I'm going to develop these in diaphragm. Why has that window come up? No thanks, I'm not purchasing anything. Right, so we'll just wait now. I've just got to wait some clouds come in. There are some clouds coming, and I should get some nice motion blur in the clouds. So we'll just hang about and see what happens. So as I say, that's the angle, and hopefully the orange filter should darken that blue sky down, and should make the clouds stand out a lot better. But we've got some nice clouds coming, and that's the angle of the camera. So we'll just wait. Just as I'm waiting for the clouds to come, a van pulled up, and this guy came out. I don't know whether he owns this place or what, but he told me he wasn't very happy about me photographing here. One of the main reasons was he was worried that I was going to go inside the building and take pictures, and as he pointed out, it's not a safe place to really be in. There's some old heavy machinery, rotten floorboards. The place is just derelict. So I do understand you know, what he was trying to say to me, but I did say that, you know, I wouldn't go inside to photograph because I'd be using a pinhole camera, and if I did, I'd have to have brought me sleeping bag because the exposure would be so long. But as I say, I do understand, because he said children do come and they break in and they mess about in these places, and he's frightened to death that anybody could be injured. If they did, I don't know who would be liable. Perhaps the people who own this site would be, but I'm not sure. So I'm not going to go inside. I had no intention of that, and I told him that, and he said he said it was no problem. He was just worried that with me photographing this place and publishing it, that it might encourage other people to come. But I'm just giving a warning. I wouldn't go in this building and take photographs in the state that it's in, as you can see. So I thought I'd just mention that. The clouds are rolling in now, and it won't be long before I can take this 2-minute exposure. So that's the exposure taken at the dark side. 2 minutes, f216. Got some nice clouds in the picture, and hopefully that will turn out some nice motion blur in those clouds. So I've just seen this. It's probably going to be the last picture at day because the light's really going now. It's some sort of old burner, and there's the old electrics all in a bit of a mess, and the old chimney pointing up. So I might take a couple of pictures in here, one further back and one closer in, and one of them possibly if I can get the chimney in the picture as well. So I've got the camera set up, 75mm. f216, and I've just taken a light reading, and the exposure's coming out at 5 minutes. So I'm not going to keep yammering about 5 minutes. I'll just show you the pictures that I've got of this if they turn out. And there's quite a lot of dynamic range in here, so just going to have to be careful how I expose the film. So I'll take the pictures and I'll show you them if they turn out. So that's it, the light's getting really bad now, and I think it's going to rain, so it's time I were off home. I managed to get 2 shots inside in that area where that I think it was a burner, some sort of gas burner or oil burner. I took one closer up to it, getting some of the machinery in, and also the chimney. Then I went further back and took another photograph, not looking up, straight on, and getting some of the more of the roof structure in. And then when I came outside, the light had really gone quite a lot, and it looked quite moody. So I took another picture of the chimney looking upwards, but this time I used Fuji across to keep the exposure times, as Fuji across doesn't have any reciprocity failure up to 2 minutes. The exposure was about 32 seconds. Pinhole photography is it really is fun, but you do have a lot to remember when doing it, and you can easily make mistakes. You know, you especially working with the 045, once you change the panels, take panels off and put panels on, you have to remember to alter the pinhole size. By doing that, the exposures alter, so you have to remember to look at the right charts to get the exposure correct. Even setting the pinhole camera up, trying to estimate the angle of view what the pinhole's seeing. It's all done by eyeballing, as I like to say, but you know, with experience you do get better at doing it. So I'm going to go home now and get these films developed. I took one and I did make a mistake on that. If they all turn out, I'll show you them. So thank you for watching. If you've enjoyed the content, please give me a thumbs up. Better still, subscribe to my channel, and thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.